When life feels like it's falling apart, prayer is the glue that holds it together. Have you ever felt that heart-sinking moment when everything seems to go wrong? Whether it's a job loss, a health scare, or a relationship that's on shaky ground, those struggles can feel insurmountable. But here's the incredible truth. In the midst of our hardest times, prayer can be our lifeline. Let's embark on this journey together, exploring how prayer transforms our struggles into powerful stories of strength. Life can feel like a wild roller coaster ride, up 1 minute, down the next. One moment you're celebrating a victory, and the next, you're confronted with challenges that seem overwhelming. But in those moments when the storm clouds gather, prayer doesn't just hold us together, it lifts us up. It's a sacred space where we can pour out our hearts and tap into a strength we never knew we had. So how does prayer wield such power in our struggles? Join me as we share some uplifting stories and insights that illustrate the transformative nature of this journey. Imagine standing on the edge of a dark abyss, where your worries seem to swirl like a tempest. In that moment, prayer becomes your lifeline. It's not just about asking for help. It's about inviting God into your struggles. Look at David in the Psalms. He cried out to God in anguish, expressing his fears and doubts. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23:4. Those words remind us that when we face our darkest moments, we're never truly alone. Let's talk about Sarah. Picture her as a single mother, suddenly jobless and drowning in bills and worry. The sense of hopelessness was suffocating. She recalls the moment she received her layoff notice. It felt like the ground beneath me just disappeared. Days turned into weeks of uncertainty, and the weight of providing for her children became an unbearable burden. One evening, after another long day of searching for jobs, Sarah found herself in tears. In that vulnerable moment, she dropped to her knees and cried out to God. I told him everything, my fears, my regrets, my hopes for my kids, she remembers. It was raw and real. Miraculously, that very week, she received a call about a part-time job that aligned perfectly with her needs. It wasn't just a job. It was God saying, I see you and I've got your back, she shares. That connection made in prayer wasn't just about finding work. It transformed her entire outlook. Sarah began to see her struggles not as setbacks, but as stepping stones to something greater. Here's the deal. Admitting we're struggling is tough, but when we embrace our vulnerability, we create space for God to step in and work miracles. Paul understood this when he said, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. Take John, for example. He battled depression for years, feeling like he had to fight his demons alone. His days were filled with a heaviness that often felt suffocating. I'd wake up each morning with this weight on my chest, like I was drowning, he admits. But one day, he finally let his guard down and cried out to God in prayer. It was like a wave of peace washed over me, he recalls. God was saying, you don't have to carry this burden alone. That moment was a turning point for John, leading him to seek help. He began attending therapy, but more importantly, he found a group of friends who supported him through prayer. We would meet weekly to share our struggles and pray for one another. I realized I was never alone in this fight, he says, a smile breaking through the weight of his past. Fear can grip us like a vice, can't it? It's that nagging voice that whispers, what if? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? But here's the amazing thing. Prayer is our shield against fear. Isaiah 41:10 reassures us, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. Let's look at Emily. She faced an unexpected health diagnosis that shook her world. The fear of the unknown loomed over her like a dark cloud. I felt like I was on a roller coaster, and the ride had taken a terrifying turn, she recalls. In those sleepless nights filled with anxiety, she turned to prayer. At first, I just begged for answers, she shares. But as I prayed, I started to feel a shift. Instead of focusing on my fear, I began praying scripture over my situation, claiming God's promises. Each prayer became a lifeline, pulling her out of despair. It felt like each prayer chipped away at my anxiety, she says, her eyes brightening. I realized I wasn't alone in this fight. Emily discovered that praying through her fear didn't just help her cope, it ignited a fire within her. I found strength in sharing my story with others. It was like my struggles became a platform to inspire others to trust God through their fears, she explains. Prayer isn't just about pouring out our worries, it's about listening too. Sometimes we're so caught up in our fears that we forget to pause and hear what God has to say. It's in those moments of silence that He often speaks the loudest. When you pray, take a moment to breathe and reflect. What thoughts come to mind? What scriptures resonate with you? By inviting God into your fears, you may find clarity and direction that helps illuminate the path ahead. For John, learning to listen was a game changer. At first, I thought prayer was just about talking, he says. But when I started to sit quietly and listen, I began to hear God's whispers guiding me. It changed everything. Remember, you don't have to face your fears alone. There's incredible strength in community. Think about the early church. They gathered to pray, support, and uplift one another. Let's shine a light on a local church that rallied around a family facing a health crisis. The Andersons were beloved in their community, but when they learned of their daughter's serious illness, it felt like the ground shook beneath them. But their church family didn't just send a card, they showed up. They organized prayer vigils, brought meals, and surrounded that family with love. Their collective prayers became a fortress of strength. We felt so supported, Mrs. Anderson said. Knowing that so many were praying for us gave us hope in the darkest of days. The power of prayer, combined with the strength of community, helped them navigate a challenging journey, reminding everyone involved that God's love flows through community. As we wrap up, let's remember this. Prayer isn't just a last resort, it's our first response. In those moments when life feels overwhelming, prayer is where we find strength, hope, and courage. When fear tries to wrap its fingers around your heart, don't hesitate to turn to prayer. Invite God into your struggles, and you might just discover a reservoir of strength that changes everything. Join us next time as we explore more about the incredible power of prayer in our lives. Don't forget to share your own stories of strength found through prayer. Remember, no matter how tough the struggle, there's always hope waiting for you on the other side.